And the home page has two important functions. One is any notifications that we want to get information to you may be there. Typically your coach will send out an email or a text to everyone, but sometimes there are things located in this notification section. Right now the only message is a welcome message and a little bit of information on how to navigate some of the things we're going to talk about in this video. The second thing that I love about it is that it has kind of a social media feel to it, in that I can add stories and I can add videos, and you can find here that I've added a introductory video. I've added a couple videos. I added a blog that I wrote on compassion fatigue. So those would be places that you can begin when you kind of land on this page. Look for notifications, look to see if there's any new material that we've posted on the page, and I suggest that you read the one on compassion fatigue. It's really a good place to start to get a sense of what we're going to be talking about in this process. So when you're on the home page, I would, in essence, this is what each week of the program is going to be, is a different journey. Now you can work independently, and I know there's an impulse to want to read all the material, learn as much as you can, and I think that's great. But there are assignments associated with each of these various journeys that some are going to be pretty easy, some are going to take some thought. So I would, and you're going to get feedback on everything that you post, and so take your time. Really use it as an opportunity not only to learn about your loved one and addiction, but to learn about yourself and how it's impacted the family. So Recovery 101 has 5 journeys. One is addiction as a chronic disease, one is post-traumatic stress disorder and developmental trauma and transgenerational. There's secondary trauma, which is the trauma of the family, fundamentals of family healing, and Communication 101. And so once you click on any one of these, the process is going to be the same. So we can do one and show you. Some of these are going to have multiple growth opportunities. Some have 2, some have 3, one has 4, and so some are going to be faster and others are going to be a little slower. So when you click on that, there's a heading or a header that will be the same for all of the various journeys. And so there's always an overview that tells you why the module was developed, why it was included, what are the goals. And so read through those. And once you've read through those, you can click boxes, but I find it easier to just work off the top, use the back button to maneuver myself around. That way I can begin to create a real sort of procedural memory as to how I work through the process. It makes it simpler. So go to Connect our stories that are pertaining to the topic that you're going to be starting with each of these modules. At the end, you will be asked to write a story about each module. Some of your stories will be included in this for other people to read. And it really is a social process, and that social support is one of the great healing processes. So to be as involved in the process as possible is a really positive thing. And so once you've clicked on a story, you can see that they're not necessarily all that long. Some are longer than others. There is a reaction button at the bottom that just says reaction until you activate it, like I have. And then once you press it, you can react. A heart, a thumbs up, sad face, hand clapping. But what I really like about it is the opportunity to share your thoughts. And for you to share your thoughts, and then others can see your thoughts. And then people who have already kind of been through that can say, thanks for your sharing. You identified things that I hadn't even thought about. Or hey, that's great, great response. Think about this, that might be helpful for you. And so taking a little bit of time, think how much time people scroll through their social media. Well, this is an opportunity for you to scroll through a recovery process that can only help you. So once you've done both stories, however many stories there are, then you can move to, you're always moving kind of left to right. And so go to the grow. And when you in this journey, you have 2 growth opportunities. The process for all growth opportunities is going to be the same, so we can just do one. And so this is addiction as a chronic disease. These will all be similar. There will be photos, there will be information pertaining to the topic. Here's who becomes addicted. Addiction is a chronic disease. What's it mean to be chronic, progressive, potentially fatal? Sometimes there are sort of growth pictures that are explained underneath those with text that kind of talks about the progression of the illness. And so then moving into recovery. What does recovery look like? The 3 phases of recovery, from abstinence to sobriety, to what true recovery looks like. And true recovery is really including the work that's being done on sobriety, kind of ownership of one's illness, into looking at all of the key areas of wellness in a person's life, from emotional to financial to occupation, physical health, relationships, spirituality. And then this one ends with a little discussion about process addiction, which are behavioral addictions, things like gambling, sex addiction, exercise addiction, pornography, things like that. And what we find is that those processes work on the exact same part of the brain as the addiction, the substance dependence does. And it's not uncommon for people to have more than one addiction. And so we have to work on both, or lapsing back into one's drug of choice is often precipitated or started by a process addiction. Okay, at the bottom of every growth opportunity, you will see 3 buttons. The right button, or the left button, is always a true or false question. The central button is always a multiple choice question. And if you press check, well, let's say I just said the brain, addiction disrupts the structure and function of which organ of the body? The brain. And I press check, and it says excellent job. I get 1 for 1. I was correct in answering that question. The right button is an opportunity to take the material that you've just read and to begin to put it into practice a little bit. Begin to look at your own family, your own loved one, your reactions to the addiction, etc. So this is a question. So always read the question. So why is it crucial to address both substance and process addictions in recovery? How might this help your family start healing? And so you may not have ever even thought about the fact that there are multiple kinds of addictions, and you might have just seen, these some other behaviors that you've worried about, but you never really put the connection that it's all tied together from a biological perspective. And once you complete that, you hit saved. Your coach will read it and give you feedback on that. Go back to the return, do the exact same thing in the second module. And when you finish that module, then you'll come back to this header and you'll press the apply button. The apply button asks you to write a story. And your story will you'll be asked to address the question associated with each story. And it'll have to do certainly with the topic of the overall journey. So the first one is, what are the biggest obstacles that you face in looking at the impact addiction has had on your life? We're not asking what are the biggest obstacles your loved one faces in getting sober. We're asking you, what are the biggest obstacles that you face in dealing with the fear and the frustration and the hurt and the grief and all the things that families often experience? How have you become different due to living with a loved one's substance use issues? How do the changes you've made impact conversations you've had with your loved one? How would you guide these conversations to be different or more effective? So you give it a name, you write the story, if you want to see what it looks like on the platform, hit preview, hit save. Your coach will assess it, give you feedback, and you would move on, hit return, and now you move on to the second, PTSD. So there's PTSD, secondary trauma, fundamentals of recovery, family healing, and then how to improve communication. So that's Family Recovery Journey 1, and there is a Family Recovery Journey 2. We're ready for that. We'll do another video. Well, thanks for being a part of the program. I hope I hope you really invest and you find it as helpful as it can be. Thank you.